views and opinions expressed within the following program are solely those of the individual. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of Shaw TV.
Hey Calgary, I'm Kevin Chorney. Today is April 11th, and this is Calgary Now. It's that time of year again in Calgary. You know, the time when you're not entirely sure if you should change your snow tires, stow away the hockey gear, or pack the parkas up in the closet for more than hopefully a few months. As we wait for the weather to figure out that it's springtime, many residents of the city are anticipating the warmer weather to bust out the soccer cleats, baseball gloves, and tennis rackets. Not sure where to play? If you're over 18, finding semi-organized sports can be a challenge. If you don't know where to start, how do you wrangle together a team, book field time, and, more importantly, can you drink beer while you play? These are important questions, and getting a head start on them now ensures a summer well spent in the fresh air and sunshine. Okay, so spring is upon us, apparently. Well, maybe not just yet weather-wise, but clearly it's on the way. That means hordes of Calgarians will once again take the bike paths, soccer pitches, baseball diamonds, basketball courts, and any other outdoor space in celebration of warm days and feeling right. It's the good time of year, the time that makes the kick in the teeth we call winter all worth it. So we have to get out, get active, and take advantage, right? If you're like me, though, it's not always as easy to get enough adults together for a game of baseball or basketball, or, kick the can for that matter. So what options are there for adults that want to participate in organized sports? Tonight we're talking about adult rec and beer leagues, and I don't mean competitive drinking. As always, you can get us on the ringer at 403-539-6710, or get at us on Twitter at Calgary Now Show. Stay with us.
I think joining or participating in recreational sports and beer league sports in Calgary is a great idea if you're passionate about it. There might be a little bit of a problem with competition. Sometimes the leagues may be full, whether that be soccer, the Alberta Football League, baseball, whatever you decide to play, hockey, obviously. There might be a little competition for ice time, field time, whatever. You just have to have the passion to do it, and you will figure out a way to get yourself there to participate and unfortunately pay the fees. But let's not forget that these fees for social sports leagues should go towards maintaining the fields and the facilities.
Welcome back to the show. Tonight we have Dave Owens from Calgary Sport and Social, Anthony Carolyn from Wimbledon Wednesdays at Commonwealth Bar, and Colin Sproul, a full moon bike ride participant. Guys, thanks so much for joining me tonight.
Thanks for having us.
I want to hear, first and foremost, what is the full moon bike ride?
So the Full Moon Bike Ride is a ride organized by one of the owners of Bike Calgary, Bike Shop, and it's just one of the recent recreational type bike rides that's kind of starting to pop up in Calgary as the bike culture kind of evolves. And like a lot of the other rides, it's basically a totally simple, just show up with any kind of bike that you've got. Yeah. We're going to go for a ride on, through the Calgary Pathway system, the extensive system that we have. 700
kilometers.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest in North America.
That's wild.
As well as just quiet neighborhood streets.
Yeah.
We get about 50 people out, go for a ride, have a barbecue, and then everybody can kind of do their own thing.
Very cool. That sounds all right to me.
Yeah.
Anthony, Wimbledon Wednesdays.
Wimbledon Wednesdays is hosted at Commonwealth Bar and Stage. It's about ping pong. It seems to be a growing sport. There's a club in Toronto called Spin, and it's straight ping pong. And it's one of the most popular things ever, so we figured we'd give it a shot at Commonwealth. And it's free to come down and free to play.
That's rock and roll.
It's good.
So that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Now, Dave, I know Calgary Sport and Social is pretty involved. Brief synopsis, tell me about it.
Yeah, so the Calgary Sport and Social Club is Calgary's largest co-ed sports league provider for adults. And so we have 15 different sports that you can play leagues in with us year-round.
Cool. Wow, 15 different sports.
Yeah.
Not bad at all.
That's
so guys,
yeah, it's cover a lot. So
why is everyone, it seems adults nowadays are really keen, hyper-focused on activities. Guys and gals alike want to get out, stay active. What is it? Is it a health thing, or is it just some welcome time, maybe away from the wife or girlfriend? Where's the motivation, you think, for people?
Definitely the social aspect for sure, getting out and meeting new people. You hear a lot of people say that, it's difficult to meet people in the regular, bar scene.
Yeah.
In terms of meeting like new people or a new group. You go to a bar and generally people are there in a group and they're hanging out with their group. So people seem to have a hard time meeting other groups.
Yeah, I can see that. Especially as a newcomer to Calgary, I would think something like Calgary Sport and Social would definitely be beneficial for that. Before we get into it, though, is it like smoking though? Is athletics nowadays amongst the adults? Is it now more or less like the suave or the cool thing to do? Just like smoking is no longer socially acceptable, so to speak. Are we expected to kind of be maybe in a bit better shape, take care of ourselves a little bit more than adults in past years, generations?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, in the kind of biking, casual, recreational biking scene, I think a lot of it more has to do with just having fun, just going out to do a simple thing, and huge social aspect. But certainly in biking, there's a huge shift towards not just competitive. So, you're not going to the velodrome, you're not road racing, you're just legitimately going for it. Even if it's a 30-kilometer bike ride, which is pretty far, you can do it with your buds, you can have beers by the river, like that kind of thing. So I think it's a lot more about just getting out and
just doing something.
Yeah.
You'd agree, Anthony?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I saw a commercial on TV that said 1 in 5 Canadians spends the last 10 years of their life in illness.
Yeah, that's right. I saw that as well.
And automatically that shook me, and I was like, you know what? I want to be the guy getting out and being active, and I would much rather have fun playing sports than sitting around watching TV.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the average Calgary Sport and Social Club member shares that mentality. I would think.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like our generation as adults, I think growing up we did play a lot of sports. I think the generation now that's growing up, that the youth is they've got video games and other things to keep them inside. So I think with us, it's something that we developed as children growing up, and it's important to us. It's always been an important value to us to be involved in sports.
That's a really good point, actually. Yeah, because nowadays you see kids that are more concerned about their smartphones or video games, and there has been that disconnect, I think. Whereas you're right. I mean, I grew up playing rec hockey as a kid type thing, and it translates now. Well, you still want to be part of that that camaraderie, that team aspect.
For sure.
So then it kind of lends the question: are we in danger in the future of our kids, not being involved the way that they should be? Are these programs that can maybe help these kids along the way in the future?
Could be. I think there's also a shift towards less like strictly team type sports. You look at like session type sports like skateboarding, snowboarding, biking, all those kind of things, and it's different because it is a lot less about like really structured kind of play. So there has to be some kind of organization around that so that there's so it's safe, and so that younger folks can get a taste of that before having to go into adulthood.
So what's the average age then of the full moon bike rides?
I have no idea.
Ballpark 20s probably?
Yeah, I'd say probably later 20s and 30s, really, but pretty big stretch, like depending on the time of year and all that kind of thing. So,
what about Calgary Sport and Social Club? I mean, you have a pretty wide range.
We do have a pretty wide range. I'd say as long as you're 18 or older, you can play with us. But our average demographic is between that 25 to 35 year range. So that's where the bulk of our members are. So.
And how many members are there nowadays?
In Calgary alone, there's over 80,000 members, and so it's
wow.
That's phenomenal.
People.
Yeah.
You're rivaling Anthony's gig. So the social aspect, back to the social aspect. I've heard, I've never actually been out to a Calgary Sport and Social event. I've heard it's a lot of fun. The 15 sports that are available include volleyball. I think there's ultimate frisbee, soccer, obviously, baseball, basketball, this kind of thing. Yeah. Co-ed action.
Yeah, it's all co-ed for us, so that's
the whole gambit is co-ed.
Yeah, so that's one of our perks is that if you're looking to meet someone to have a connection with, definitely we're a pretty low pressured environment where you can meet someone and be able to socialize at one of our partner bars afterwards. So it's that whole realm is something that fits with most people.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's like-minded individuals. It's a platform for dating. Come on, isn't it? You get out going, the bike rides, even a little ping pong, Milton Wednesdays.
Absolutely. Well, we also have like board games and Jenga, and surprisingly, Connect 4 is huge.
Connect 4.
Connect 4.
That's a good game.
A thinking man's game.
It is. It's like the new age chess, isn't it?
A little bit.
Yeah, sure. So as far as the balance, though, I mean, I understand. You're right. It's more of it's a fun recreation activity. The full moon bike ride, the ping pong. I get it. You're out, you're having a drink. It's fun, a little bit active. Calgary Sport and Social, though, is there not I guess, a degree of competitiveness that people want to observe and participate in as well?
Yeah, there is. With the Calgary Sport and Social Club, there's all sorts of different skill levels and different divisions that people can sign up for. So if you're brand new to a sport, you have zero experience, you can still play in that sort of sport. Or if you're an ex-varsity athlete that's came out of college, you can play at a more competitive level. Generally speaking, most of our members are more the recreational based, but there is different levels for people to play at more serious level. So
what about those guys who want to really get out there and kick some butt and take some names? Are they welcome to call?
We do have some measures in place that help us monitor that sort of thing. So we strongly encourage sportsmanship. So we have a platform called our Spirit Rating System. So for certain sports, if you're not acting in a sportsmanlike manner, then you can get punished in the standings. There's other types of repercussions that can happen as well. So
the standings is great.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. Because you'd be affecting your entire team.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. So then you get your buddies going, "Hey man, come on."
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Exactly.
You don't have the same problems, I hope. We have to discipline people. Not. Doesn't happen?
No. Everybody that comes down to Wimbledon Wednesday is there to it's pure leisure. We just hosted our first tournament. It was doubles. So, if you were welcome to show up on your own, and if need be, we would pair you up with somebody. And it went smashingly well.
Cool.
No pun intended.
Yeah. So what about fees? Is there any, with the full moon bike ride, is there any money expected out of you, or just show up, bring some steaks,
show up,
a beer?
Bring your own food, do your own thing.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wicked. What about Wimbledon Wednesdays?
No fees at all.
Is that right? Just show up, drink a beer, and play some ping pong.
Show up, drink a $4 PBR, and play some ping pong.
Rock and roll.
Hang out.
Now, clearly, there's got to be some fees associated with Calgary Sport and Social. It's structured. You've got, is there referees involved with that?
Depending on the sport that you play. With us, we are a not-for-profit organization, so we do keep that into mind. But there is some fees associated with, obviously, with the rentals, the equipment, the referees, that sort of thing, to pay for those types of those expenses. So, the fees do range depending on the sport with us, but for a full season, which is 9 weeks long, as an individual, you can sign up for $95.
Yeah.
And then, so that's like the high end in terms of expenses. But, if you sign up as a full team, then you can be paying as little as $40, $50 for a season. So
what kind of sport would be $40, $50?
So say if you're playing slow pitch, and depending on how many people you have on your team, a team fee could be about $650 for the season. And then depending on how many people you have on it, you could be playing for about $50.
Now, does that include equipment?
With us, it would include like bases, strike mats, balls, that sort of thing. With slow pitch specifically, you would be bringing your own bats. But in most sports, players either already have their equipment or we provide equipment for them to use. So
it's cool. It's smart. It's a smart business model. Folks, we're going to take a quick break here. Check out what our resident rant pack has to say. Stay with us.
When talking about adult recreational sports, I think that things like beer leagues and those kind of things are awesome. People have grown up loving sports and playing in sports throughout their youth. I think that it's great that they can continue that going into adulthood. We speak of beer leagues and wonder, well, why is it called a beer league if you can't drink in public, if you can't drink after your games at the arena? I just think that's a safety thing, and I think that the idea probably more so is that after a game, everybody will go to wherever, grab a beer together, and it's more just kind of, I think, the atmosphere that you're creating afterwards.
I think for adult sports in Calgary, there are definitely leagues available. There are places to go to play pretty much any sport, from handball, dodgeball, basketball, hockey. It is tight though, so I recommend anybody looking to get into a sport like that to have somebody really organized on their side. You gotta register really early because spaces fill up really, really fast. It's a good thing that people are wanting to get out there, get active. I think it's just one of those preventative things for health and also just for community.
Hey Calgary, welcome back. Tonight we're talking about adult recreation. And I do mean sport when I say adult recreation. Don't forget to give us a tweet if you like, shoot us a phone call. Now, Dave, if you would, maybe comment on what Ike had mentioned about I guess, the waiting list. It's pretty intense. People want to play.
It is, yeah. There are obviously depending on the sport and the league and the night that you want to play in, there is capacity issues. And so with us, we actually just closed our registration last night, but there's still the ability to play with us on certain nights. We're still looking at expanding all of our offerings so that we can try and accommodate for the demand. So it's something that you have to scout out new facilities, and as the city grows and they start to develop communities, then there's more facilities that become available for us to rent and supply to that need.
So what's the big cry for now? Is there any sports that are, really people want to see?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of non-traditional sports too that are quite popular. Like dodgeball would be an example of a non-traditional sport that's pretty popular. Right now, probably our most popular sport is slow pitch. So we've got over 400 teams that are expected to be playing with us this spring. So that's probably our number one. And then hockey in the winter would be floor hockey is one of our other ones. Obviously, being Canada's sport, it's quite popular as well. So
is there tournament play as well?
With us, there is, yeah. So we offer about 20 different types of tournaments throughout the year, and depending on the sport. But if you can't commit to a full season with us, then you can commit to maybe a 1 or 2 day commitment with us in a tournament setting. And very similar type concept. We have after parties afterwards, so it ties in that whole social aspect as well.
Are any of them just drop-in?
We do have certain drop-ins for specific sports. None of the tournaments that we have are drop-in, but we have beach volleyball drop-in every Friday night at our Marta Loop courts, and so that's quite a popular offering as well.
So how does it work then? I can just show up if they need a guy on the team. I'm good to go. Skill level doesn't really matter.
Are you talking about the drop-in?
Yeah, the drop-in.
Yeah, drop-in. It's you show up during the registration period between like 6:30 and 7 o'clock at night, and then we've got a coordinator on site, kind of managing how that would work. And depending how many people show up, they would kind of split into teams, and you kind of play, recreational fun games for the night. Have a few beers on the patio, and then switch the teams up and play some more throughout the rest of the night.
I like beers on the patio.
It sounds like a pretty good time, to be honest, though.
Yeah.
Injury-wise, I mean, are players required? This is probably a good question for everybody. Is there any waivers involved? I mean, clearly, people should be responsible for themselves. It's always, unfortunately, not always the case. Play a little ping pong at the bar, no waiver.
No waiver.
You can ride your bike on a path to drink. I think everyone's capable. But,
as for the recreational type bike ride things, most organizations, no, they're not doing a waiver. Generally because they're not even necessarily an organized group, so to speak.
Yeah,
but I think there would be some people in the city that some waivers are necessary just to protect
No, of course. I
themselves.
imagine some of the activities.
With the county sport and social.
I mean, injuries, they will happen. It's not that uncommon that they do happen. So we do have waivers for all of our participants before they play. It's something that we ask them to do. But overall, I think most people won't get injured if they play. It's just the one-off kind of circumstances that happen, unfortunately.
Like any activity, I suppose.
Exactly.
So you don't see a lot of injuries then, to be clear?
No, we don't see too many. I mean, with the amount of volume that we're dealing with, we'd see, like we see injuries weekly, but with per team, it's pretty rare. Maybe less than 1 a season per team. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
See, there's no excuse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
So the full moon bike rides again. I'm fascinated with bike culture in Calgary.
Sure.
In a city where it's winter for seemingly 8 months of the year.
Yeah.
You guys are riding in the winter, in the summer, whenever you can get out, type of thing.
Yeah. There's a pretty budding bike culture here in
Yeah.
Calgary, specifically focused around just, really it's adults grabbing garage bikes, whatever they've got, and just having a good time going out and riding. You see that with festivals like Cyclepalooza. You see that with things like Sled Island. I think 75% of Sled Island festival goers get around the festival by bike, and it's just
Sled Island had to build their own bike racks because there was so many bikes at each of the venues that there wasn't enough space.
Yeah. You look at Folk Fest and you look at their secure bike lockup, but it's. Calgary, we have a great path system. I mean, we have a very sprawling city, so we have lots of places to go.
Yeah,
the city does a better job at clearing the bike paths than they do the roads.
Interesting. Is that,
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
So you're satisfied as somebody who's on their cycle all the time?
Well, there's always room for improvement, absolutely. So, I mean, as far as, just going out to have fun, the bike paths are amazing.
Yeah.
Commuting, it's all a whole different story. I think Calgary has a long way to go with bike infrastructure, and they're heading in the right direction with some of the new cycle strategy and things like that.
So would you consider your group, like Bike, I won't say your group, it's a big group. Bike is maybe a bit of a voice when it comes to speaking with the city and council potentially for some of the changes that should be in place?
Yeah, sure. Sean at Bike is certainly vocal and involved in the city. I think he's meeting with someone from the provincial government coming up soon to talk about some of the cycling issues. So I mean, Bike's the shop is focused, quite specifically on riding around town. So they're not so much about competitive sports. It's a good voice to add to folks like Bike Calgary and a lot of the other nonprofit associations.
And I might add that Calgary Sport and Social Club is similar, if you think about it, in a few aspects. I mean, the city, it sounds like you guys could use a few more facilities. I mean, it's proof in the pudding, 80,000 members.
Exactly.
Is there any dialogue?
Definitely there is. There's some challenges in terms of what facilities that youth get priority over versus adult groups, and so that's kind of a whole new discussion. But there are other adult groups that are lobbying the city or other private venues to help us with trying to get space for the demand. So.
Would you call it a partnership, or are you just kind of watching from the sidelines?
No, definitely it's a partnership. Like we've got a pretty strong relationship with the city of Calgary. Most of our bookings are through them, and so it's a very strong partnership that we've built on for a number of years now. So it's been good. Yeah.
So what's the biggest challenge then of starting a league yourself, starting one of these organizations, or even just an event? What's the biggest challenge?
Well, we do on Sundays. It's called Dirtbag Baseball, and we play.
I've heard of this. Our producer Selena plays a little dirtbag baseball.
She is our official scorekeeper.
Yeah, that was her title. She mentioned that.
It was actually set up by Danny Bacon, who's the lead singer of the Dudes.
Cool.
And it's essentially industry staff and musicians. And the biggest issue we had at first was finding a field that we could play at consistently every Sunday. But in terms of getting people out, we set up a Facebook group, and whoever wanted to be involved in Dirtbag Baseball, everybody joined this Facebook group. And if we're changing fields or we're not going to play because of the weather, somebody just posts it on the Facebook
social media.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same, I imagine you utilize the same structure.
Absolutely. Like there's a lot of different types of promotional methods that we use. Social media is pretty big with us. Going back to your original question about one of the challenges of starting a new league, I think it's just putting the amount of time and dedication that it would need in order to start a league. There's a lot of leagues that are run by individuals that it's like a secondary job for them, and so it's nothing that they're doing full time, which can be a bit of a challenge. And so
you're a full time guy then?
With us, we do have a full time office staff, which is it can provide the level of customer service and attention that league would need in order to make sure it's self sufficient and able to run.
I mean, we talked off camera about rec hockey. Of course, I play hockey. We've all played rec hockey one time or another. Just the amount of adult leagues in Calgary, it's crazy. You've got, I think you can probably spit off 5 or 6 leagues as it is.
Exactly.
The challenge for space must at times be a little bit daunting, regardless of the sport. But I want to know, guys, is there any sport where you can drink beer on city community property and it's legal? Can you do that? You can't just walk in, play volleyball at the Volley Dome, drink a beer on court, right? You can't do that. Sorry, I've been pressured to ask that question.
You can at Wednesday.
True enough.
As many beers as you want.
True enough.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the venue. I mean, if with some of our tournaments we do get licensed events that we have it at, or some venues that we partner with tournaments will have beer gardens or concessions on site. So you can legally do it, definitely. We with the sports club, one of our challenges is with members potentially drinking on public fields, and so we really try and encourage them to not drink on the fields and save that for the bar afterwards, and so that's what we're trying to do. But obviously we're not naive. I mean, there are going to be people that choose to drink, and we've got consequences in place for that, but it's kind of at their risk to do so.
So is there, you see a bylaw officer hovering around type thing? You know why I'm asking the question, because everybody's thinking it, right?
For sure, yeah.
We had about 5 or 6 weeks of a cop would always show up at Dirtbag Baseball, and we weren't sure if it was one of the neighbors that lived near the field that was calling it in on us or whatnot. But essentially, he said, if we kept it down and, out of sight, it wasn't such a big issue.
Because in all honesty, I didn't do the research. I imagine it's public property. I can see where that would be an issue, but I like the fact that there is a bit of discretion on the official that's, going to come by and say hello to you and check in on things.
Yeah.
It's probably the way it should be. Folks, our half hour is nearly up. We're going to pop back right after this quick break and wrap things up with our always entertaining random question. Stay with us.
Adult sports is great. Recreational sports are great, but they should be just that, recreational. The fact that you have to pay often really expensive fees to have access to public spaces, to be part of an organized league, to me just kind of seems a little off. What happened to being able to go and do the pickup game, bring your friends out, maybe there's a cooler, maybe there's some travel mugs, who knows. But having to register for all of this, and I understand upkeep and I understand all of that, but why can't you just go out to a field and play sports? That's what recreation means.
Welcome back. Okay, guys, we're going to jump right into our random question. Okay, the way this works, I've got no idea what's on these cards. Sometimes they're a little bit asinine. Sometimes they're very thought-provoking. I'll let you guys be the judge. I want you to do the honors, Colin. Just pass it back to me. I'll read it, and we could all weigh in. Oh, this one's good. What's your opinion on the Jerome Iginla trade?
I think it's good for Jerome. It's going to give him a chance to win a cup.
It's fair, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Works for him. It's a win-win, right?
He's got to be a little upset, though, that 50 seconds into his first shift,
Sidney takes
one
puck to the face.
Takes puck.
A nasty broken jaw, yeah. Colin, you like it?
Well, you know, Jerome's been a great guy to have around in the city, so it's sad to see him go. But, you know, maybe the Flames need to shake things up.
I'm calling he's coming back as a free agent.
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of people are making that
He's
call.
a rental.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah, it looks it.
Yeah.
Dave?
No, I completely agree. I think it was, you know, probably the right move for both the organization as well as Jerome. To get draft picks for him is what we need right now. And like you said, he's probably going to be coming back at some point. So hopefully he wins his cup and then comes back and retires with us.
I hope he wins the cup.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
Is there anybody in the league who deserves a cup more than Jerome Iginla? Let's be honest.
He should have had it.
Yeah, well, I should have had it in 04.
Unfortunately, we got Bettman. That puck was across the line.
You can talk to Marty Jelena all about that. Folks, thanks very much for joining us. Hopefully we've shed some light on what is indeed an interesting issue. You can keep the conversation going on Facebook or, of course, on Twitter. And, as always, if you have a topic you'd like us to discuss, don't be shy. Drop us a line. Take care. So you guys just to stick around for a bit.
The closing.
Yeah.